Okay, we have arrived for episode 31 in the challenge series, and this is going to be... Well, the episode itself isn't going to be that weird, actually. It's just going to be what happens after it. That's going to be, like, characterizational of how the series goes from here. I don't even know if that's a word. Let alone, much less if that's the correct word to be using. We only have 4 races on offer today. The roulette race is not going to be a thing in this episode. But obviously still have 4 others. Thank you, stomach, very helpful. So I guess we just head into those 4 races. There'll be side content explaining why the heck there's only 4 races and all of the other stuff that's been going on around the series. It'll all be explained by the time episode 32 comes up, or goes up, or up. For the first race of the episode, it's the Red Bull Ring short layout with the 500 category cars, and the track is a wee bit damp. A slight rain shower passed, like, mere moments before the green flag. But this is what safe rain levels looks like, you know? There's water on the track, but it's not dangerous, and not to mention, these cars aren't even that fast. These cars you probably would be fine to run in the downpour from Spa last week, because they're not going to be getting over 100 miles an hour anyway. Not like the 680 class cars where they routinely hit 180 with dry conditions and have to resort to doing like 120 when racing through apparently a tsunami or something. I can't even explain what that monsoon was last week. The focal car, Fukai Kaneshimi, is already in the lead. We've only done a singular lap of the race, and we already have a new leader. It's a Mazda 1-2 at the moment. I don't quite understand what's going on with the Bakanatsky's car there. Some sort of abstract design, I think? Not positive. Bump draft. So bizarre that Sayari put basically a defunct company on the side of her car. That Prius does not have much acceleration. It's odd for me to think that, Kaneshimi is the only one that attempted to run this race on racing tires. The track's not that wet. Like, I don't know what everyone was so cagey about. And that's just hauling 107 in a 500 class car. That's kind of fast. I see the actual rainfall has returned. Very slight, but it is the thing that it is happening. You get 110. My gosh. I didn't even know an 8.6 would do 110 miles an hour. Doesn't seem like anybody else other than Minako is able to match that, based on the fact that they've now pulled so far away from 4th place Shoji Hakure. Taylor's the leading car that's not from Japan. The whole top 6 is Mazda, Toyota, or Honda. And Lily White is going for a move on Hakure, and she gets it done with relative ease, despite having less horsepower. And then we have 2 European cars, another Toyota, a Daihatsu, the only Daihatsu, another Honda, another Toyota. So there's 3 Hondas, like 4 Toyotas, 2 Mazdas, which are both leading. Well, actually they were both leading. When did that happen? Oh, just screeched ahead of her on the front straight. It's as simple as it gets, I suppose. So well, the 2 Mazdas were first, second, but Natsuki has said otherwise and has overtaken the Atenza. And AJ is down the inside of Hakure for 5th place. Battle between 2 starter cars, and the Aqua is victorious. Well, Kanashimi definitely has just cleaned house here at Red Bull Ring, winning by several seconds, like over 15 seconds it looks like. That's quite a difference. 15-second lead built up in just 5 laps. Not even a 6-minute race. It's like 5.5. So that's yeah, definitely should have been on the racing tires. that was the call, because the track wasn't ever that damp to begin with. The moisture, or like the moisture meter, was only about 20. You don't really have to worry about changing off racing hards until 30. So, and then it's like 30 to 50 for sports tires, and then like 50 onward, you'll either want comfort tires or racing wet tires if you have them. And if it were up to me, I don't think I would ever have a race go on that's got more than 70. Considering that Spa race, I think was at like, I think it was at like, what was that? That was like 80 or something? 80, 85? There was a, like, the Tokyo Express race, the one that Doshaburi debuted in, that was like 95 in some places. That should never have happened either, but the drivers strangely weren't complaining much about that. Probably because the roads were designed to be wet. The roads in Spa, or the track of Spa, is just really not. I don't really know what the point of diversification was. Maybe it was just because we were more accepting then, but now we've seen so much of Gina's nonsense, and we aren't really accepting of anything. We being the whole of the Challenge Series roster. You have 115 people angry at you, Gina. What's your next move? You're here for the second race of the episode. It is Deep Forest. Now we're at 600. We're slowly ascending the ladder of vehicle classes. Oh. The tailspin for the focal point, Thomas O'Reilly in his old Ford Roadster. The lighting of the track right now, it makes it look like the intro to Gran Turismo 1. It's kind of funny. Couldn't really see it. Maybe we'll see it if when we show the post-race screen in the very wide shot of the track location. You can kind of see it actually from this view, especially on the front stretch. It looks really dark. I mean, it makes sense it looks really dark, but it's nighttime. Like, that's kind of what happens when it's nighttime. It is dark. smart. What the heck, Dedrick? Well, this looks like a clusterfuck. Oh, they're 3 wide. Oh boy. Was that 4 wide for a second? Thomas made it 4, and he is gonna get an obscene number of places heading into turn 1. I think he picked up 6 places there. And gets around Sham on the exit of the same turn. Down the inside line on the Polo driver, a bit of a snap, but straight line, straight enough line. Head of the Alpha, nearly smacks his own wheel into her, nearly spins out. This definitely looks like the kind of vehicle you're driving on edge, but it somehow seems more stable than most of the other cars on this track, despite being 90 years old. There's sparks. Well, that would be why Pablo is apparently not paying any attention to his surroundings. He's gonna get out-dragged by 2 cars at once. He's gonna try and send it back down the inside, but he cannot. Webber and Mulsanne are still battling for the lead through the hairpin, but I think the better power on this 240Z is going to take Scott Webber up to the first position. At least until O'Reilly takes it away. In about a few seconds. It's ahead of Mulsanne. Swift lane change alongside the 240 and outbraking maneuver. Mulsanne with a bigger outbraking maneuver. Thomas did not expect that car to be there, obviously. But better acceleration, better horsepower on the Roadster means Thomas O'Reilly is officially the leader. Webber and Mulsanne continue to fight over P2. And Mulsanne might have him on the outside, which would be quite impressive. It's best. I think the A110's got better handling. Webber gives her a bit of a nudge, and that's going to be how he takes the spot away instead. A bit of a touring car move, or maybe a V8 supercar move, more appropriately in the case of Scott Webber. Hernandez is still kind of there, but not really. And nobody else is really near it. And Thomas is already getting well ahead. The 240 does have superior top speed over the Roadster, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Scott Webber had to battle Lynette for so long that it gave Thomas O'Reilly several corners with which to get away. Webber closed quite a distance in that braking zone. But the middle sector seems to be where the Roadster shines, which is weird being it's a bunch of corners. Okay, so again, we're recording in the middle of the afternoon. Couldn't even finish the lap. Yeah, the Roadster continues to do its thing in the middle sector, so top speed advantage or not, I don't think this is even remotely close enough for Scott Webber to do anything about the old Ford. Because now it's become even darker here. Not the best apex in the hairpin, but it might help on the exit. And that's all I think Thomas actually needs is an exit, so... Through the last kink. It's going to be Thomas O'Reilly getting the victory over Scott Webber at Deep Forest. Mulsanne completing the podium, and Hernandez just barely hanging on to P4 over Ivan Sotokov, who, mind you, I think he started 15th or so. He didn't have a great starting spot either. He nearly came back for a podium. But yeah, tell me this doesn't look like the lighting from the Gran Turismo 1 opening. I don't actually know where the start of that opening is from, but you know the bit with like the autumn leaves, the random traffic light tree thing. They certainly didn't have a creek like that running through the track in Gran Turismo 1. Now it's on to round 3. We're green for the third round of the episode. This track was not used much. Blue Moon Infield. It's like a poor man's Daytona. The focal point is Amy Shaughnessy? I think I'm saying that right. It might be Ami. I think it's Amy though. It'd be weird if it weren't, considering this person's of European descent. Irish. Definitely one of those dwelling in the background type of drivers. Haven't really actually seen or heard much from them in their time in the Challenge Series. I think they arrived somewhere around like episode 15 or so. There's like this big wave of drivers from Thrasher's crew. She joined alongside Kushibe, Orleans, Katsuragi, and a couple of other ones. And really, of them, Katsuragi's been the only one that's actually made any meaningful impact on the Challenge Series. Looks like that we're going to be pretty wide there. Oh, they are pretty wide there. Just kind of business as usual for Shaughnessy. Not really that much, but just like, you know, unremarkable way, just making their way through the running order pretty procedurally. Although I think overtaking Brandt is anything but procedural. That's a wall there, Shaughnessy. Now there's Kira, as I was talking about earlier. This first corner is quite possibly the weirdest corner on the entire game. I'm very glad I've never had to actually make it, because it's confusing as fuck. That's the best way I can describe it. It's confusing as fuck. Head of the Gran Turismo. I thought she might send it on my dad, but she does not. She's probably not close enough. She'll try the outside on the next corner though, and cut over or crossover attack And the switchback works pretty, man, that's pretty textbook right there. Most of this race, this whole race has just been pretty textbook. About to take the lead away from Bergstrom, almost gets turned as he attempts to slide up the circuit. And so 2 laps to go, there's a new leader on the track. I feel like Brandt's spending like 2/3 of this race on the brakes. Shaughnessy demonstrates a completely different way of taking that second place car. And here's Siegfried by Vegas. Oh my god. 206, he broke at the line. I don't know what he was doing there. The audio equipment had a bit of a meltdown there. Combined with me yawning. It's certainly a breakout event for a driver who's basically spoken little more than a whisper up to this point in the Challenge Series. Seriously, this is one of those drivers I routinely forget is even here. Like Mervyn Manuel or Yatsuba Takane. Before he DNF'd his car, Morris Zollner was in the same boat. Nobody seemed to know who he was. A lot of people weren't even any the wiser when he DNF'd his car and left. But, well, now people will know who Amy Shaughnessy is, as she takes the victory at Blue Moon Infield. And Brandt is going to steal second place on the gigantic straightaway. Welcome to 1200 horsepower. My dad has been purely ripped off of his podium. I wonder how many more laps it would have taken for Brandt to catch up to Shaughnessy. I think if you have a track with enough straightaways, Brandt winning is more of like an eventuality than a question. He will take the lead. It's just a matter of the starting grid position in the circuit will determine how long it will take for him to. Really need to look at putting him in the 720 category. It's like his rating definitely reads 680.9. So he's in regulation, but I think there's just some kind of error there. I don't think you can look at a car with 1200 horsepower and say, yeah, this should be racing in this category, with cars running less than 400 sometimes. I mean, this GTO is 470. I think that's sort of like right smack in the middle for horsepower figures in this category. Cars like Kaiser's 911 or Weiss's Celica, they're running sub 400. Parker's Evo 5, that's sub 5. 395 or something. Hakurai's Civics, no, same thing. And then we just have this guy here running nearly 1200. So it seems like a chemical imbalance, but the measurements don't lie. The game says the measurement system says it's 680. So I guess. For the final race of the episode, due to the obstruction of the roulette race. It is a multi-class event. 760s versus 720s, cars that honestly there's not a whole lot of degree of separation. There are actually cars in the 720 category that can run in 760. Likewise, there are cars in the 760 class that can be downgraded to run the 720. That said, none of the cars in the 720 actually can run 760. The only one that gets close is Blanchard C4 Corvette. Nico is the focal point of this race, as she started last out of the 760 category, and Natsuki didn't want to be the focal point, but Nico always does. You know, she's definitely that kind where she likes the spotlight. And believe me, everyone in Mercury will never be allowed to forget it. Team meetings in Mercury Racing are a unique event, as the first pass of the race is completed, Nico just out-drags the SLS driver. Next is Johnny Parker, very fast in the straight line. I mean, everything in this category is, it's the highest class in the series. I don't think you'd get very far having a slow car in a straight line in 760. Ellie does. She's like the only one that really does have this problem. That's good cornering, but honestly at Fuji that doesn't help a whole lot. There's plenty of cars in this category that have both good handling and good power. I look at Kawakuda's GTR Nismo, Koshowski's F12, or any of the 3 Lamborghinis in this category for examples of this. The Viper that Nico and I drive, because they are pretty similar in terms of performance. You know, obviously they are the same car, but they do have slightly different upgrades. I don't know what most of the differences are. But these kind of are, like, the Vipers in general are sort of in the middle. They don't have the best straight line speed in the category, because that would go either to the Bugatti Veyron or to the F12. I say that, but Nico just out-drags both the cars I just named and the GTR Nismo, which I think on paper is the best car in the class because it has an incredibly potent mix of handling and power. If Kawakuda is given time to adjust to track racing versus street racing, he's probably a pretty dangerous contender overall. And that's ignoring his aggressive driving style. As Nico moves into the lead with a lap and change to go. I don't think she's in the clear yet though. Risei's Veyron is also very good. It's like a less extreme variation of the S13 that Brandt drives, where it's definitely kitted for top speed. But being a high-end supercar, it also doesn't, you know, it doesn't completely suck in braking points. And it's all-wheel drive, so its acceleration is just blatantly lethal. It still looks like a Duracell battery, and I will never let that go. But when she sends it on the last turn and just about turns Nico for the lead. For a second I thought Eric was about to pass Ice, but he's not. The top speed difference between the two I think Nico just had a really good slipstream before. They both at about the same speed, Nico braver on the brakes. But Rise then dives it in anyway. And that all-wheel drive acceleration just crushes the Viper on the exit of that hairpin. But Nico's got the lighter car. The Veyron is more of a stability-meant thing as far as handling goes, but the Viper's got, well, it weighs about half as much as that Veyron does, so... Oh. Rise forced her Veyron to somewhere that Nico was covering off. Oh, speaking of forcing, Rise pushes Nico off of the track, but unlike Hansen before, when that happened to him, Nico not only stays on the road, but also makes the pass. Never mind, Rise just barges her out of the way. This isn't even the category that the next championship's under. This is 760. The next championship's 680, for Christ's sake. Using her up on the entry to the second to last turn. I'm surprised Nico's taking this much crap. Oh, she just throws it on the apex and parks the bus on exit. Rise is forced to either let off or run herself over. And that might have been the trick. Yeah, the Veyron couldn't get an exit. Nico is going to take the victory at Fuji. More cleanly than I expected, considering the way Rise raced her in the second half of that lap. A war between idols, but Nico emerges as the idol master, as it were. And Brian Ice just kind of lingers for third place. He doesn't really do much else. He existed to be overtaken by Rise and Nico. That's basically it. But yeah, so interesting development is going down. Oh my god. Interesting development is going down here. The roulette race has been called off. Not what it would have really mattered a whole lot anyway, considering the fact that, oh, the next championship is for a specific category. If there should have been a fifth race, it should be another race between those cars to sort of determine who gets a position in it. But, yeah. And we, I guess, next we see you, or next we, what? Try again. Next we talk, it'll be episode 32, it'll be, we still haven't come up with a name for it. Gina and I have honestly been too busy arguing and bickering and fighting, and I'm surprised there haven't been any attacks thrown yet, or anything. Unless you count the attack she pulled on my car at Le Mans a couple of episodes ago as an attack, because I certainly do. I'm sure even she probably does. But that's a story for another time, so... yeah. It's getting ugly.